In addition to the full-time W-2 and the plethora of 1099s that I held down during the time I was living paycheck to paycheck, there were two very important factors that played a role in helping me get my head above water and lowering my bills. Those two things were the customer retention department and deferred payments. And I'm going to tell you how I used each one of these and which bills I used each one of them for. Now, the time of year that I did this was also very specific. I did it at lease renewal time, and then I also do it seasonally between the months of October and December. And the reason why I do it the last quarter of the calendar year is because it's typically not busy for these types of companies. You have more room to negotiate, and then you are beginning the new year paying out less money for your bills. My strategy for this was to start off with the two bills where I knew I was guaranteed to save the most money. And for me, that was car insurance and my internet bills. So here in Texas, with your car insurance rates, those premiums are pretty much fixed. So that means you're not going to have any or very little room to negotiate on this one. Okay, so let's look at my real life numbers and the amount that I was able to save per month by switching car insurance companies. So in 2018, I was with Nationwide Insurance. I had one car with full coverage insurance, and I was paying $240 per month. That year, I switched over to Root Insurance, and when I switched, my monthly payment went down to $141. Now, keep in mind, I did not change my coverage. I did not downgrade my coverage. Everything stayed the same, okay? But by August of 2022, Root started tripping. My payment jumped up to $218 per month, and they were just not going to get that amount of money from me. So I shopped around and I switched over to Esurance. Again, without reducing my coverage, with keeping everything exactly the same, my monthly payment for insurance was reduced by $74, and my new insurance payment was only $144 per month. When I am switching from one car insurance company to the next, there are two things that I always confirm. One is the coverage dates. I want to make sure that I'm not going to have a lapse in coverage at all, going from company A over to company B. The second thing that I confirm is if I'm going to have a refund from the company that I'm switching from, because at the time that I make that monthly payment, I have paid in full for that entire month. Internet and cable, for my electric and for my cell phone, I am going to work with the customer retention departments to get these particular bills lowered. Now, the customer retention department is a completely separate department from the frontline customer service rep that you speak to when you call the 1-800 number. The reason why we go to this department is because it has the ability to offer existing customers specials and promotions that typically aren't advertised anywhere else. And the customer retention specialists know that by the time you ask for them on the phone, you're pretty close to canceling your service altogether, and they don't want you to do that. So they're going to dig off in the vault, get some discounts and promotions exclusively for you to try to retain you as a customer so that they don't lose you. I have found that there's a better time of the week to call than others. Don't call these people on Monday. They are frustrated. Everybody is calling on Monday to gripe and complain about all of the problems that they had over the weekend when the office was closed. Call on a Thursday or Friday. Your whole time is going to drop down because not very many people are calling at the end of the week. And then when you call and talk to people on a Friday at work, they're typically in a better mood because they're getting ready for the weekend if they are working a job where they have weekends off. There are two pieces of information that you need to have in hand when you get on the phone with the customer retention department. The first piece of information is how long you have been a customer. Typically, the longer you have been a customer, the more likely they are to find some type of discounts and promotions to reward you for your customer loyalty. The second thing I want you to have is all of the rates for the company that you're thinking about switching to. That way the person in the customer retention department knows that you have already done all of your homework, and that when you hang up the phone with them, you are ready to immediately go over to another company and start to save money. You may not be able to get a discount in every instance, but if you can keep your bill from going up, count that as a win. Now, whenever I move, I am getting a brand new internet and cable plan, and it's loaded with all kinds of new promotions. I am looking to price shop for that around my lease renewal time, because if I don't switch over to a new plan, all of those discounts that I was given at the time when I signed up for service, that's going to expire, and they are immediately going to enroll me in the regular price for that particular plan. Let's talk about deferred payments. I use deferred payments for my car payment and for a personal loan. Now, deferred payment is when you skip the upcoming payment, and then that amount gets added to the back end of your loan. It does not go away. So before Paid Off Polly jumps off into these comments telling me how her and her husband paid their last mortgage payment in 1978, and then they cut up all their credit cards in 1982 because interest payments are the devil, I'm aware of that. I am very well aware of that. But when I was living paycheck to paycheck, the interest on one payment being added to the back end of the loan, it was worth it for me to be able to skip that payment so that I could free up some money and get ahead. I worried about that interest added on to the back end of the loan later on down the road, and I created a plan where I was paying extra on my principal, and I still ended up paying off my car, I think 2 months early, okay? So I'm aware of the ramifications of having this payment on the back end with this interest. Before I asked for a deferred payment, I always asked if there were any other payment plan options available to me. And the reason for that is because with my car payment, I was only allowed one deferment every 12 months. So I didn't want to use that and then end up needing it later on down the road. And thankfully, during the entire time that I had my car financed, I only had to get one deferred payment. What could those other payment options look like? For me, it was the option to have an interest-only payment instead of paying the principal and the interest. And then another option that I was given was to have my car payment reduced over a certain period of time. So for example, my car payment was $465 per month. I qualified to be able to pay $200 per month for the next 3 payments. And then again, the part that I'm not paying is getting taxed on to the end of the loan, but I'm still able to free up more than $200 to be able to allocate that somewhere else within my budget. So the method that I typically use to go through this process, which is a process that I still utilize today, with the exception of my car payment because my car is paid off. The method that I utilize is typically to start with an online search, shopping around for prices online. From there, once I identify a company that I'm thinking about switching to, I'm actually going to get on the phone. I need to be able to get to a human. So I'm going to get a human on the phone. I'm going to have any questions that I have listed out so that I can ask those questions. And then sometimes the company will want you to complete the process or even give you a discount if you go back and you initiate the service change online. Can I just say one thing? There have been people in the comments of some of my videos where I'm talking about, living paycheck to paycheck, telling me how they didn't have a winter coat. They chose not to buy one. They jumped off into dumpsters on their lunch break to look for aluminum cans and copper and whatnot to be able to sell, to have extra money. And to that I say, I am glad that those individuals found the methods that worked best for them. I'm not built for none of that. And I'm really thankful that it did not get to that point for me, because all of that sounds extremely traumatic. And so therefore, I have used these types of ways to immediately cut expenses as quick as possible. And if you have any questions about any of these methods that I've shared, drop them down below in the comments and I will meet you down there and answer them. And until then, I will see you back here for our next video.